Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. I have got a treat for myself right here, and yeah, it's absolutely my treat. And that is the new Good Smile Company's great Zeo Rimer Kit. Never did I think that we would actually see a Zeo Rimer model, well, the great Zeo Rimer, before we actually saw any of the other ones. This is a massive box, and it has a nice little flip lid. And if I can flip it over with one hand, you can get a good look. He is absolutely pointy and crazy looking, as he properly should be. Now, I first came across great Zeo Rimer ages ago playing Super Robot Wars, God, what was it, J or K or L? I'm not even sure which anymore. It was one of the ones on the original Game Boy Advance. I know that for sure. And he was an absolutely ridiculous unit, and I absolutely look forward to building this. So, parts are big. How many screws are we looking at? I don't even know. If you've never built any of the Good Smile Company's Moderoid models, they feel to me very similar to Kotobukiya's Super Robot Wars line in terms of the sharpness of the pieces. They have a lot of pre-colored parts. The clarity and sharpness of the details is quite nice. Through here. There's not necessarily going to be a need for a lot of paint, unless obviously you want to do that. They have a lot of the pre-painted models, so parts like this, which is always a nice touch. And I just keep on going. Looks like an inner frame. I'd say they're not as complex as the Kotobukiya stuff, or maybe some of the more complicated advanced master grade or perfect grade stuff. Let me get into some of the more colored parts. I have not come across any polycaps yet. I'm curious if this really uses any, or if we're going to go plastic on plastic like a lot of the more modern kits out there are doing. So as you can see, I'm still not done pulling stuff out here. There's still more. Sadly, not much in the way of translucent parts, but that's where his big Zeorymer of the Heavens attack comes from. Instructions in a separate book. Not a whole lot. Are those decals or stickers? I'm not sure. Let's find out. Okay, I guess they are regular stickers. Not too many. That's not too bad. Taking a look at the actual kit. Quite a few frames here. Haven't had to worry about contacting them. I know Kotobukiya has got pretty good service about replacing parts, at least within Japan, if you ever need to. Look at the finished model there. Looking quite flashy. Usual instructions on how to build these, and be careful about that. Following the orders, using plastic cement. Interesting that the instructions themselves are like a really nice hard cardstock here. Almost cardstock. It's a very thick paper. You don't usually see colored instructions either. That's an interesting touch. Do we have any more about him? I don't think he showed up in the anime. I could be wrong. I have not seen the anime in a long time, and I never saw any of these later parts of the OVA series. I only remember seeing the first or two parts. I have come across the manga. Now, the manga is interesting. In case you don't know, the Zeorymer manga was actually drawn by the artist who would eventually do the Guyver under a pen name, except it is absolutely loaded up with very questionable looking sex scenes, because it was totally a hentai comic. And what's even more interesting is that a few years ago, he actually went back, finished the story, and none of that stuff is even there anymore. And I don't consider myself a prude or Puritan in any sense of the matter, but I was so off-put by how underage the characters look in the manga. I was like, oh, no, I can't buy this. I can't bring this home. Yeah, unfortunately, because the later stuff was really nice looking. I love the Guyver. I mean, I'll show you guys. I've absolutely one of my favorite comics ever. But I just could not bring myself to bring that back to the States and have to explain that, having to go through customs or anything like that. So, unfortunately, and I know it's not an easy one to find, But man, look at that. That is a sweet looking mech. So give me a moment, which probably is going to translate into days and days of me doing this in between things at work, but that's half the fun of this. And we will see just how swanky this model is going to turn out. So sit tight. All right, so over the period of a few weeks almost, we went ahead and we got great Zeo Rimer done, and I believe this is probably the most pointiest model that I own in my collection at this moment. But it is absolutely an impressive piece when you get to see him in all his full-size glory rather than a tiny little SD model in a video game or an app game if you have him in Iron Saga, which I know he's shown up in. But yeah, Poseability. So, as I said earlier, there are no polycaps. However, all of the joints, I gotta say, are really tight. Like, super tight, with the exception of our torso. The torso is a little bit looser than I would like, but that's easily fixed. Unfortunately, with the amount of pointy parts going in every direction, that does limit some of the posability. You do have the missile pods on the legs opening up. You can have him do his traditional Zeorymer of the Heavens pose, where he smashes his fists together and makes shiny explosions, but I'm not going to bother doing that because, like I said, his torso is really wobbly, and I'm not a big fan. Most of these black parts are actually multi-piece setups that got put together like that. There are a couple of stickers in there. And I gotta say, of all the parts, I'm not a big fan of the wings. The wings are very limited in their mobility, and yeah, they can't really rest fully against the body or all the way down on the ground, or maybe I just put them together wrong. And when you take a look at his legs from the back, I think he just looks kind of goofy. Ugh. Now, his blaster thing here is removable. This is from the How Dragon, if I remember my Zeo Rimer mecha correctly. My brother insists that I actually owned the DVD at one point that had the collected edition of it, but I do not recall that ever being the case. So I'm not sure what's up with that. In terms of size, again, you can see just how wobbly that torso is. In terms of size, I mean, he's pretty on par with a lot of the Kotobukiya Super Robot War kits. I don't have a 1/144 scale Gundam handy? My god. What is the world coming to? It's bigger than a traditional Ultraman Kaiju. This is EX Bakishim. It's gotten impossibly hard to find these days. It's about the size of an Imperial Knight, if you want to go the Warhammer route. Which, to be honest, I sort of kind of do. Grabbing an actual Marine in there. Apologies for the lighting. Brighten it up a little bit. My thought is, with stuff like the new Gamma Wolves rule set coming out, or Horizon Wars, there's a lot of options for mech games these days. Might be kind of fun at 15mm. Just having a ridiculous super robot bonking around on the table. But yeah, the construction was pretty easy. I don't think it was anywhere near as complex as something like the Kotobukiya kits. If you've built any of their Zoids or Super Robot War kits, they are a lot more fiddly in terms of all the tiny little pieces. But then again, there is no real glue needed. There were a couple spots on this that needed a couple dollops of glue, but for the most part, it worked out all right. Interesting the way the skirt armor works, but yeah, just really, really big and impressive. Could it be bigger? That would have been cool. But it is a non-scale kit. And in the end, it is quite unique looking. So if you want something different for your shelves, or you want to use it in a gaming session of some sort, I gotta say, I mean, it is a pretty unique looking model, and it is quite a dashing, pointy profile. So if that's your kind of thing, which obviously it is for me, do give it a look. I know since the quarantine, he has been difficult to find. I did manage to track one down in the United States for a reasonable price. Your luck may vary, and if you're ordering into Europe or somewhere, you might have better opportunities to get it for a reasonable price from there as well. So do your due diligence in tracking models such as this down. I gotta say, yeah. So he's probably going to join me at work with all of his super robot brethren. But overall, cool looking kit, and it does make me a bit bummed that we don't have an actual regular Zeo Rimer kit yet. So hopefully we'll see one of those in the near future. I'll be keeping my eyes peeled, that's for sure. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities and Miniatures. Saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.